With the exciting news about the casting of Lovecraft Country actor Jonathan Majors as the time-skipping Conqueror Kang, could the Fantastic Four be far behind? The coming of Kang the Conqueror has been the most exciting news regarding the future of the MCU, and there's been a lot of exciting news. Kang is the kind of Thanos-level threat that we've been waiting for. But Redditor The Wayland Cycle, as well as others, are starting to think that not only will Kang bring Thanos-level threats, but provide a window into how Marvel's first family, the Fantastic Four, will enter the MCU as well. Let's see if that's a stretch. Oh yeah, we're gonna do a lot of that. Get it? Stretch? After that epic ending to the Infinity Saga, the biggest speculation regarding the future of the MCU is, what's next? Who can they find that can match the big purple-chinned Mad Titan and his quest for the ultimate gem collection? We might have gotten an answer to that question with the casting of Majors as the major villain from time and space, Kang the Conqueror. Kang isn't just any big bad, with conquering as the only thing on his to-do list. Dr. Movie News tweeted the possibility of Kang leading to the Fantastic Four as well. Regardless of who's saying it, the basics remain the same. Kang has captured the Fantastic Four in the quantum realm, and Janet has sent Scott and Hope in to rescue them. And it turns out the two pieces have been sitting there right in front of Vuse the whole time. There are two elements that hint at what Kang has been up to in the itty-bitty verse, and how that plays into things. The first is Janet's advice to avoid the time vortexes, when she sent Scott into the quantum realm to collect quantum particles. At the time, they didn't have Stark's quantum GPS device, and falling into a time vortex would mean that there's no telling where Scott would end up. Janet doesn't appear to have fallen through one of those time vortexes on her own, meaning that she might have seen someone, or a family of someone's, fall through one. In a deleted scene, we got to see Janet interact with a resident of the quantum realm, telling a passing creature type thing that they were just passing through and making no claim. We didn't get a lot of time to download all of Janet's decades in the shrinky-dink world, what with having to stabilize Ghost and then getting snapped out of existence after just getting back, but clearly, she has some stories to tell. The second is a blink and you'll miss it appearance of a city in the background of the quantum realm. When Hank makes his free dive to rescue his wife, in the background there looks to be a tiny city. Early speculation was that it could mean that one of Marvel's most enduring toy tie-in titles might make an appearance, the mighty Micronauts. With the announcement of Kang the Conqueror, a closer look reveals the city bears more than a passing resemblance to Chronopolis, the home base out of time for Kang the Conqueror. The theory then is that Kang is responsible for these time vortexes in order to form his city of many time zones, and trapped in there with him is the Fantastic Four, after Reed Richards encounters the time-skipping bad guy around the time that Hank Pym started developing Pym particles. With all of her time down there, Janet might have learned to steer clear of Chronopolis, but had a good reason to think that there was someone who needed an assist from the size-adjustable heroes. Some people might be concerned that a top-tier cosmic-level threat is going to be first introduced into the story of an Avenger that is more associated with hijinks rather than high drama. But then Loki was Thor's problem before he came Earth's problem. Likewise, Thanos didn't get his first speaking role until Guardians of the Galaxy, where the plucky team managed to be plucky even though they didn't know what the word means. Both Loki and Thanos went on to be threats so massive that everyone available had to be brought together to stop them. The MCU has had plenty of major threats start from humble beginnings. There are a lot of reasons that this is enticing, before we even get to what Kang might do once he starts encountering Earth's mightiest heroes or introducing the Fantastic Four. It comes down to how connected Kang is to the wider Marvel universe. Being a time traveler from the 30th century of an alternate timeline, this one being 6311, Kang has a lot of time to make connections. The first connection is who his papa is. You see, Kang's real name is Nathaniel Richards, a direct descendant of Reed Richards. Or Dr. Doom, apparently. It's hard to keep records with a convoluted story like Kang's. Kang had brought peace to the 30th century by forcibly taking charge, then grew bored. That's when he discovered the ultimate barn find, a time machine. Now he can conquer whatever time he wanted. So he decided to be a real jerk about it by going after Neolithic Egypt on Earth 616, Marvel's main universe, and installing himself as Pharaoh Rama-Tut. He carried on that way, gaining a reputation as a conqueror, until he got the crazy idea to impress his teenage self. Apparently, Kang forgot he had an idealistic streak in him, and his future supervillain self upset him so much, he went on to become a superhero just to stop his older self. Rather than taking a theme from his elastic ancestor, he instead picked up the mantle of original science bro himself, Tony Stark, and became Iron Lad. That's not just a nice nod to the BMOC of the MCU, but also one of the triggering events to bring about the Young Avengers. something that Marvel has very much expressed interest in, with Cassie Lang, aka Stature, already introduced, and Kate Bishop getting handed the Hawkeye bow in an upcoming Disney Plus series. In a seemingly unrelated end of the expanding MCU, there's another Easter egg for time shenanigans in the prison jumpsuit being worn in a clip from the upcoming Loki show. Loki, skipping out of the main timeline with the Tesseract, appears to have landed him in time jail, wearing the logo of the Time Variance Authority, the organization tasked with eliminating timelines that have become too dangerous. The Fantastic Four have had their run-ins with the Time Variance Authority as well, which stands to reason with all the super science Reed Richards gets up to. In fact, shunting threats off into another dimension is kind of Reed Richards' move. It's entirely possible that the shenanigans of the time heist have undone decades of work for either Kang or the Fantastic Four, and either way, the possibilities are pretty darn exciting. So if Kang is the descendant of Reed Richards, the teenage founder of the Young Avengers, and exactly the kind of threat that the Time Variance Authority would be concerned with, he seems perfectly set to introduce the Fantastic Four. Yay! Alright, so how could all of this go down? There are a lot of theories, but ultimately we don't know. Let's try and piece it together, stretch our legs, and have some fun. So we have Chronopolis in the quantum realm, and the warning to stay away from the time vortexes. The way that Chronopolis is made lends itself to the problem of time vortexes, as it's made up of different chunks of different cities from different times that Kang has conquered. Some people make a trophy room in their lair, some people make a lair in their trophy room. In the comics, Chronopolis sits in limbo, which allows Kang to access any timeline, and also happens to be the mutant magic's favorite way to travel. But in the MCU, as we learned in Endgame, the quantum realm has that feature as well. There are two options here. Kang put himself there, and up until this point, hadn't taken much interest in Earth 199999, or the MCU, or he was shunted there, locked away until some folks went super tiny and started messing with time. Since messing with time is Kang's jam, now we're on Kang's radar. Perhaps now that the dust has settled. Get it? Because Thanos got dusted? Oh yeah, you get it. In a calm moment, Scott Lang might explain to Janet Van Dyne how he used the quantum realm to send the Avengers back through time to recover the Infinity Stones to snap out Thanos, so I could just make that dust pun right there. This might concern Janet. Had she been around to ask, she might have said that there were a lot of dangers to just rocketing around the quantum realm, and she might be concerned that some things might have been disturbed, and it becomes imperative that Scott and Hope get back in there to make sure the damage can be undone. If Kang is there voluntarily, the damage would be alerting the serial conqueror to the MCU and inviting another superpowered cosmic threat to bring the heat. But the idea that the time heist might have upset some delicate balances might suggest that Chronopolis is not there voluntarily. Maybe Janet doesn't know who directly trapped Chronopolis, and it's Mad Conqueror inside, but she knows what not to mess with. So now Scott and Janet are set to return to make sure the locks are still in place. Bad news, they're not. Kang is threatening to break free and do his Kang thing, but Scott and Hope start getting some mysterious help from an unseen force, maybe an invisible woman's voice. Eventually, from this unseen helper, Ant-Man and the Wasp learn that Kang was time-locked here, with borrowed technology from a time agency that visited an aspiring super scientist back in 1961. That's right, the Fantastic Four will be from the time their first issue appeared. This isn't out of nowhere. Ant-Man director Peyton Reed, all the way back in 2003, pitched a Fantastic Four that used the Beatles' Hard Day's Night as its tonal baseline, including setting the movie in the 1960s. Now obviously Reed didn't get to do that, instead we got something different. Well, now Reed can return to that idea. Not only does it give things a groovy new perspective, it also helps explain why no one has been going, "Where's Reed Richards?" Or, "If only Reed Richards was around, he'd have some weird doohickey that would solve this." Richards is that gone, where one way or the other he'd have passed on. Sort of in the same way that the 50s people might have thought that Captain America might emerge from the blue alive and well, but by 2012 no one still thought that it was gonna happen. To keep them even more under the radar, when they did whatever they did to lock Kang away, it locked him and his family in the quantum realm, dooming them to keep Kang trapped in his city. The time vortexes then create the turbulence needed to keep Kang from traveling. Once inside the quantum realm, the family gets exposed to cosmic rays and gain their powers. Perhaps it's even the Fantastic Four that Janet thinks they're rescuing, only for it to be Kang trying to lure the Avengers back through to finish the job and unleash him on all of time and space once again. Halfway through the credits roll, who's this? Why, it's the Fantastic Four in the MCU. And there it is, the Fantastic Four in Ant-Man 3 via Kang the Conqueror. How do you think it'll all play out? Let us know in the comments, and while you're there, be sure to subscribe to CBR for the latest videos in your inbox. Thanks for watching!